Hello guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. So today on our read, I will be speaking on Doris Simon, a family, a career and a marriage. Doris Simeon is no doubt a multi-talented woman, an actress, a television presenter, a model, an event planner, an hairstylist and an entrepreneur. In fact, top it all, she's a philanthropist as well. She joined the Hollywood industry back in 2001 and since then Doris has been featured in several other movies. Doris was born on the 22 July 1977 in Lagos. It may interest you to know that Doris is actually from Edo State, or Pella precisely, but she was born and brought up in Lagos precisely, and this is the reason why she speaks Yoruba fluently than her native language actually. She also graduated from PEFT institution where she studied movie production management, and since then she has been basking in the Nollywood industry. Initially I thought Doris was an half-caste because she's so pretty, light-skinned. Her name complements her skin, and a lot of people back then you hear the typical Yoruba name, but ours was just outstanding. Her skin color, her hair made her look like an half-caste. But to my greatest surprise, she is from Edo State. Doris Simeon is really not a controversial person, as you won't see much of her on social media except she posts pictures of her work, herself, and very few things about herself actually. Doris got married in the early 2000s to a movie producer as well. Doris recalls that they met at a movie location. He's a movie director and a producer. The marriage that seemed to be like a bed of roses to every people outside the marriage, that is viewers, followers, friends, who seem to look at their marriage as the best and the perfect in the Nollywood industry, ended in a terrible and a messy way, as Daniel, who happens to be the ex-husband of Doris, left her, took her son, and then relocated to the United States and be with a famous actress also called Stella. On seeing this news on social media, a lot of people didn't like the idea of Stella getting married to the ex-husband of Doris. Well, people use the word snatch, but on the long run, there were so many escapades of this gist flying around saying that it wasn't because of Stella that Doris's marriage got crashed, but there have been cankerworms eating up this marriage long before it came out to the public, and they have been separated long before Daniel decided to marry Stella and relocate to the United States. So many sides to this story. From Doris's side, some people are of the opinion that Daniel was a weakling and is a cheat. Then from Daniel's side, who happens to be the ex-husband of Doris, says that Doris is the cheat. She's the one who doesn't know how to manage her home. And Sister Stella also said, where was Doris when she was snatching her husband? After all the back and forth speculation by so many people, there was a lady who came out to shed more light concerning this whole issue and the crashed marriage of Doris and Daniel. Well, she said she specifically stayed with this couple for a good number of years, as she happens to be a younger sister of one of Doris's friend. She said in a lengthy and a long episode that she shared as a mail, she gave long, detailed explanation of what really transpired and what could have been the problem of this couple. She said they used to live in Mende, Maryland before they decided to move to Magodo. Daniel, she described as a wonderful man, a perfect husband, a good man to Doris, and Daniel made this known to everyone around. He was willing and ready to take Doris to the next level in her career. He supported her and did everything possible to make sure that Doris was always on top of her game. The young lady who said she lived with this couple continued by saying that Doris was also a good wife in her own way. She supported her husband's passion to change the industry, and she dragged him into the Nollywood, Yoruba specifically. She said she stayed with them for 4 years. She never heard them argue or exchange words. If they have issues, they don't let it know to the public or people that stay with them in the same house. Continued by saying that Doris' parents didn't like Daniel, and Daniel's mother also never liked Doris. She was against the relationship from the beginning, and she's known to be a heavy prayer warrior, and she said God was against the marriage from the scratch. But Daniel is somebody who never listens. Once he makes up his mind on something, he never changes his mind over that. Also rumors at that time that Doris trapped Daniel with the pregnancy, but then she made this clear that they had lived together for 3 years before Doris ever conceived or gave birth to their child. Well, she continued with an explanation, letting the world know that Daniel started realizing that in many ways himself and Doris were different, much different than he had thought. That he believed Doris started to relax on several things because she felt she had her husband and he was going nowhere. He was always very expressive about his love, but she was the opposite. He would run around the house and wants to play love game with her, but Doris thought it was a waste of time and energy. She was the old-fashioned wife, and Daniel was the one who wanted to spice up the marriage and do it like the Oyinbo people thing. But eventually, all of the energy put into this was just effort and futility, as Doris didn't see any need to reciprocate the energy as long as they are married and there's nothing that's going to take that away. But she forgot that she's supposed to do a lot of work. The kind of energy people put into relationship while they are dating is always different when they eventually married. This was the case of Doris and her ex-husband. This young lady continued in her explanation, saying that the marriage meltdown goes as far back as 2009, and that she has heard them talking in hushed tone a few times about how sex was a problem in the marriage. I know for a fact that Daniel used to joke about it around the house, but you could see he was serious in those jokes. He was always clowning about how he had to fill form like an embassy to have sex with his wife. I know at some point it was so bad that for almost 6 months they didn't do anything. End quote. This was the young lady explaining that the sexual part of the relationship was a mess as well. I explained that Daniel did everything to salvage this relationship, but then it keeps seeming like it was just effort in futility. The young lady said the height of it was when Daniel found out that his wife had a shop where she sells things or probably does her hair, dressing, and never told her. This was the point when Daniel couldn't take it anymore and he had to walk out of the marriage. Concluded by saying, and I quote, "All I can say is that Daniel and Doris deceived everyone for a long time about how good the marriage was, even when everything was bitter, and so those hating on Stella are really wasting their time because Stella Damasus did not ruin Doris' marriage. Daniel and Doris know what scattered them that led to their divorce in 2011. If any of them feel I'm lying, let them challenge me." End quote. Story online, it was said that for many years Daniel and Doris have been dealing with issues bordering from infidelity on the part of the later, that is Doris. One of the reasons she has never been in good terms with Daniel's mother and sibling. As a matter of fact, Doris was not in talking terms with her mother-in-law, and this is one of the reasons why the mother-in-law didn't consider Doris as a wife. But even in the midst of such pressure and persuasion, Daniel was still hoping that his wife can still change for the better. But unfortunately for him, the situation seems to be getting worse, and Daniel's romance with Doris eventually fell like a pack of cards when his friends continued to feed him with different tales of his wife's escapades. To make the matter worse, Doris' ego began to rise to the extent that she barely and rarely listens to her husband. But to cut the long story short, she had to travel down to the United States to stay closer to her child in order to get custody of the child. And also, Daniel and Stella Damascus are now divorced and living separately. In fact, they've been making passes at each other on social media as of late. A lot of people who are supposed to be Doris's fan had come out to jubilate and celebrate with her that finally she was able to get hold of her child, and at the same time karma has dealt with Stella Damascus and Daniel himself, because Doris narrated how one afternoon her husband Daniel decided to visit her mother-in-law with their son. And in the light of this was how Daniel decided to travel from Nigeria to the United States while their son was 2 years old, and since then she has never been able to reach the child until later this year when she was able to gain access and custody of her child. She said she wanted to reconcile with her husband until her husband sent her fake documents of divorce paper, and then that was when she decided and make up her mind to also forward him the real and actual divorce paper so they could end it. She tried as much as possible to make sure that she reconciles with her husband, but it ended in tears. Well, Doris is back with her child in full custody, and Daniel and Damascus are living separately in the United States right now and presently, and a lot of people have been saying karma has dealt with them all. Well guys, there you have it. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and drop your comment to the comment section below. Thank you. Bye.